I'm Freya, and at 34, I finally bought my own house, a dream I worked hard for. I saved every cent for years, keeping it hush-hush from my nosy family. One day, I came home early and caught my mom, Janet, showing my sister-in-law, Vanessa, and her friend Olivia around my place without my okay. I stood there, stunned, fury bubbling up as they trampled my privacy. Have family members ever crossed your boundaries? Drop a comment below and share where you're watching from. Hit subscribe to hear what happened next. Growing up in the Collins house, privacy was a myth. My mom, Janet, was a helicopter parent before the term was cool. From my earliest days, personal space didn't exist. My bedroom door had no lock. Mom's rule was, family doesn't hide things. That mindset ruled my life. I'll never forget the sting at 13 when I found her reading my diary. That little pink book with its weak lock was my safe space, where my thoughts felt private. When I called her out, tears pouring down my cheeks, she looked confused. "I need to know what's happening with you, Freya," she said, calm as ever. "How else can I keep you safe?" That moment hit me hard. In our home, love and control were the same. Mom opened my mail, eavesdropped on my calls, and grilled my friends like a detective. My dad, William, stayed out of it but never stopped her, leaving me feeling trapped. Everything changed when my brother Ethan arrived, when I was 8. He became the golden child, watched as closely as me but soaking up the attention. Being the only boy and the youngest came with perks I didn't get. "Ethan needs more support," they'd say whenever I mentioned the unfairness. So I learned to want less, need less, expect less. I hid my true self, not in diaries that could be found, but deep inside. College felt like my escape. I picked a state university 4 hours away, thrilled to live in the dorms. Those first months were amazing, no one tracking my moves or judging my friends. I could eat ice cream for breakfast. But it didn't last. By midterms, Mom had charmed my resident advisor, Laura, getting regular updates on me. She'd show up twice a month with food and cleaning supplies, rearranging my dorm and blaming my roommate Zoe for her messy habits. After college, I took a financial analyst job in my hometown. It was a great gig, but honestly, I stayed because a job in Chicago sparked so much family guilt and worry that I caved to their pull. "Family sticks together," Mom said. "You'll thank me when you need help with kids someday." My career grew, but so did the pattern. I rented an apartment 15 minutes from my parents, close enough for unavoidable Sunday dinners, but just far enough to limit daily drop-ins. When Ethan married Vanessa 5 years ago, I watched her get sucked into our family's orbit with both envy and worry. Unlike me, Vanessa was open, sharing every detail of her life and seeming fine with Mom's constant input. They talked daily, shopped together, and Vanessa leaned on Mom for everything from recipes to love advice. When they bought a house 3 blocks from my parents, Mom was over the moon. "Now we need to get you a place nearby," she'd tell me, sending house listings for their street. "It'll be perfect, all of us together." But I've been saving quietly for years, living frugally and investing smartly. As a financial analyst, I knew the magic of compound interest. By 34, I had enough for a down payment on a house far from my family's reach. 3 years ago, I tried to talk about wanting more independence. The family meeting I called to discuss moving 30 minutes away turned into an intervention. Dad, Ethan, even Aunt Patricia listed why leaving would be a disaster. "You're too sensitive," Mom said, tears in her eyes. "We'll check on you if you don't answer your phone. We'll bring you soup when you're sick." I gave in and renewed my lease, feeling defeated. That defeat lit a fire in me. I realized my independence wouldn't be handed to me. I had to take it. My savings grew, and so did my resolve. Keeping my house hunt secret wasn't easy. I'd seen how Mom took over when Ethan and Vanessa bought their place, joining every showing, critiquing everything from safety to cabinet finishes, even trying to haggle with the seller despite their realtor. I watched Vanessa's excitement fade in their future living room as Mom called the ceiling too low and the windows poorly placed. Her own tastes vanished under family pressure. I couldn't let that happen to my dream. When I was ready to buy my house, I kept it under wraps. I told my family, I was taking a financial planning course on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but I was really meeting realtors and touring homes. Lunch breaks became my time for calls with mortgage brokers and inspectors. I got good at steering conversations away from my plans. I started looking in January, when the market was quiet and cold. Fewer houses meant less chance of my family spotting me at an open house. I scouted neighborhoods with strong growth potential, far enough from my family's usual spots to avoid surprises. The search wore me out. With no family to lean on, every choice was mine alone. Some nights, I lay awake, wondering if hiding my plans was worth the stress. Was I overreacting to what Mom would call her caring? But then I'd picture Vanessa's face, her joy fading as Mom criticized her new home, and my determination returned. After touring 27 houses, I found it, my dream home. A 1920s colonial with gleaming hardwood floors, a cozy bay window for reading, and a sweet little backyard garden. Tucked away in Oakwood, 35 minutes from my parents, it had a warm, tree-lined vibe. The second I stepped inside, I felt a rare calm wash over me. My realtor, Sophia, saw it in my eyes right away. Unlike others who rushed me, she took her time. A warm woman in her 50s with a big laugh, she got my need for secrecy without me saying much. "You're in love with this place," she said, smiling. "Is it that obvious?" I laughed. "Freya, we've been at this for 3 months. This is the first time you look like you're already home." Closing the deal was a nerve-wracking ordeal. I set the signing for a Wednesday morning, telling work I had a doctor's visit and my family I had a big client meeting. I used a new email for house stuff and had papers sent to a rented P.O. box. I even paid extra for a notary to meet me at a coffee shop to avoid being seen at the title office. Guilt crept in. Was I being too secretive? Would my family feel hurt I didn't share this milestone? But every time Mom pushed another perfect house near them, I doubled down on my plan. The day I got the keys felt like a dream. Sophia met me at the house, handing me not just the keys but a bottle of champagne and a small plant. "A new home needs life to feel welcoming," she said, hugging me. "I'm proud of you, Freya. This is yours, your way." Alone in the empty living room, keys tight in my hand, I felt joy and disbelief. I did it. I owned this house. These walls were mine, a space that was truly, completely mine for the first time. Moving in was a sneaky process. I kept my apartment as a front, moving my stuff bit by bit so no one would notice. I skipped family weekends to paint and arrange furniture. During video calls, I angled my camera to hide my new space. It was a weird double life. My apartment stayed normal, but at my house, I built my dream. I painted the living room sage green, knowing Mom would hate it. I sorted my books by color, not her logical alphabet system. I hung art I loved, not pieces to match my couch. Each choice felt like a quiet victory. I planned to share the news eventually. I didn't want to hide forever, just long enough to make the house mine. I pictured inviting my family for dinner, everything set my way, showing off my success. I hoped Mom would admire my discipline, Dad my independence. But families don't follow your scripts, and life doesn't go as planned. Everything flipped on a random Wednesday in late April. Spring was just breaking through winter's chill. I'd been in my house for 6 weeks, still hiding, still building courage for the reveal. I had a big client meeting set for 2 p.m., prepped with detailed projections and a polished pitch. But at 11:30, my boss, Marcus, texted, "Loft done meeting canceled, rescheduled for next Tuesday. Take the afternoon off. You've been working hard." The free time threw me off. Usually, I'd use it to settle into my house. Bookshelves were coming next week, and I needed to prep the space. I grabbed my stuff, told my assistant, Deidre, I was done for the day and drove to my house, not my apartment. The spring sun warmed my car as I planned my afternoon. Hang that antique mirror I found. Maybe rearrange the kitchen cabinets to suit me better. Small tasks that made the house feel more mine. Pulling onto my street, I felt that familiar calm. Then it shattered. In my driveway sat Mom's silver Lexus SUV, Vanessa's blue Honda, and a red compact I didn't know. My heart pounded as I drove past, mind reeling. Were they at the wrong house? No, The cars were in my driveway. Circling the block, I saw movement through my front window. Someone was inside my home. I parked around the corner, my hands shaking so much I dropped my keys twice before locking the car. Sneaking up the side of my property, I hid behind hydrangea bushes. Voices drifted through the open dining room window. "The crown molding's original," Mom said, sounding like a tour guide. "Freya doesn't know how lucky she is to have this charm." I crouched closer, peering through a gap in the curtains. Mom waved her arms in my dining room, Vanessa nodded, and a blonde stranger studied my china cabinet. "Got a color scheme yet?" the stranger asked. "This room needs a bold navy blue." "Olivia, Freya's so indecisive." Mom laughed, her words chilling me. "That's why I brought you here. She needs your design help." They moved to the kitchen, their voices fading. I stood frozen, emotions swirling. How did they know about my house? How did they get in? Who is this Olivia, and why did Mom think she could share my space? I crept to the kitchen window to hear better. Vanessa's voice came through. "This kitchen's nice, but so old. Those cabinets gotta go, and laminate countertops? Really?" "We'll help her fix it," Mom said. William and I planned to give her birthday money for a proper entertaining space. I bit my lip, tasting blood. Entertaining? I bought this house for me, not family parties. I loved the retro cabinets and didn't need their upgrades. Footsteps thumped upstairs. I slipped to the back, hiding under a big oak tree, listening through the bathroom window. "The bedroom gets great morning light," Mom said. "But it needs burgundy drapes for class." "How much did she pay?" Olivia asked, digging into my private business. "Just under $300,000, Mom replied casually. "She saved a good down payment, but I think she overpaid. This area's not that great." I clapped my hand over my mouth to stop a gasp. Mom knew my purchase price and shared it with a stranger. The betrayal hit like a punch, stealing my breath. "The backyard's perfect for barbecues," Vanessa added. "I can see Ethan grilling on that patio when it's warm." "Exactly," Mom agreed. "Plenty of space for kids when you and Ethan start a family." Their assumption that my home was theirs to use fueled my anger. I gripped the tree to stay steady. This was why I kept my purchase secret. They didn't see it as mine, but as family property to control. For nearly an hour, I listened as they roamed my house, judging my rooms, planning renovations I didn't want, and scheduling family events in my yard. I wrestled with what to do: storm in and kick them out or stay quiet. Years of family habits warned me a scene would prove I was too emotional. Instead, I chose a third path: wait them out and make sure this never happened again. I stayed hidden until the front door opened, and I heard goodbyes. Peeking around the house, I saw Mom lock my door with a key I never gave her. The three women chatted by their cars, Mom patting Vanessa's shoulder before they drove off, oblivious to the storm they'd sparked. As their cars vanished, I ran to my door, hands shaking with rage and resolve. Inside, Mom's floral perfume lingered like an intruder. I noticed small changes. A pillow moved, a book shifted, a candle out of place. My space felt violated. I called an emergency locksmith right away. They promised someone within the hour, and Diego arrived in 45 minutes. I paid extra for same-day service, watching with relief as he swapped out every lock. "Break-ins around here?" he asked while working on the back door. "Something like that," I said, not ready to admit my family was the problem. The new locks were barely done when my phone lit up with Mom's name. I ignored it. She called again, then a third time. I finally answered, stepping onto my patio for a tough talk. "Freya." Mom's voice was sharp. "I tried to drop off paint samples, and my key doesn't work. Did you change the locks?" Her casual mention of a second uninvited visit that day fueled my anger. "Yes, I changed them," I said, trying to stay calm. "Care to explain why you had a key to my house? Or why you gave a tour to Vanessa and some stranger I've never met?" Silence hung heavy, and I pictured Mom's face, guilt fading into defense. "I don't get why you're so mad," Mom said after pause. "I was proud of you and wanted to show Vanessa and Olivia your amazing house. Olivia's an interior designer, you know." She had great ideas for it. That's not the issue, Mom, I replied, my voice rising despite trying to stay cool. You didn't have my okay to enter my home, copy my key, or share my private purchase details with strangers. Olivia's not a stranger, Mom scoffed. She's Denise's daughter from church, remember? And Freya, we're family. Family doesn't need permission. That's the problem, I shot back. You've never respected my boundaries. Not when you read my diary as a kid, not when you opened my mail as an adult. Open your mail? She cut in, her voice shifting the way it did when she was caught. Yes, Mom. My house closing papers came to my apartment. That's how you found out, right? You took my mail while I was at work. Her silence confirmed it. Freya, she said, her tone softening, trying to make me doubt myself. I was worried. You've been so secretive, skipping dinners, not answering calls fast. I thought you were in trouble. When I saw the title company envelope, I feared you were in financial hot water. So you opened it, copied my key without asking, and gave tours of my home while I was gone. My voice rose as years of frustration spilled out. You're making this bigger than it is, she said, getting defensive. I planned to tell you this weekend, Vanessa, and I picked out better curtains for your living room than those flimsy ones you have. I shut my eyes, rubbing my temple as a headache started. Mom, what you did was wrong. It broke my trust. I'm 34, not a kid. This is my home, bought with my money, and you had no right. I had every right, she snapped, matching my tone. I'm your mother. Everything I do is to help you, guide you. And this is my thanks, locked out of my daughter's house. Yes, I said, a calm settling over me as I saw no apology coming. And you'll stay locked out until you respect my boundaries. I hung up as she protested, then turned off my phone, needing space to process what was next. That space didn't last. As I brewed tea to calm down, a loud knock hit my door. It was Ethan, face red with anger. I opened the door, keeping the chain on. What the hell, Freya, he barked. Mom's crying because of you. Nice to see you too, Ethan, I said, not budging. I bet she called you right after we talked. Of course. She's heartbroken. How could you say she violated your privacy when she was just helping? I studied his face, wondering if he really didn't see the issue or if family loyalty blinded him. Did she mention she copied my key without asking and brought Vanessa and a stranger into my home while I was at work? A flicker of doubt crossed his face, but it vanished fast. She was thrilled for you. She wanted to make your house a home. It was already my home, I said softly. Mine, Ethan. Not hers to redo, not Vanessa's for barbecues, not a family hangout spot. You're always like this, he said, shaking his head. So selfish, obsessed with your space. Family's supposed to be close. That's love.
No, Ethan.
That's control. Love would have respected my choice to buy my house alone. Love would have waited for my invitation. His face hardened. So, you're cutting us off because Mom tried to help. I'm setting boundaries, I corrected. Something I should have done ages ago. Boundaries, he laughed bitterly. That's just a fancy way of pushing away people who care. Fine, have your space, but don't cry to us when it gets lonely. He stormed off, leaving me trembling in the doorway from the clash. Soon, texts flooded in. Aunt Patricia called my treatment of Mom cruel. Cousin Ryan said I needed therapy for my paranoia. Even Dad, usually the peacemaker, sent a short text telling me to apologize for overreacting. The family story was clear. I was dramatic, selfish, rejecting their love. No one seemed to think that copying a key, entering my home uninvited, or planning unwanted renovations was the real problem. As the sun set that chaotic day, I sat in my living room, surrounded by walls I'd painted myself, holding a cold mug of tea. I felt raw, but free. For the first time, I stood firm, no backing down under family pressure. The cost was steep, family ties strained, maybe broken. But looking at my space, truly mine, I knew I'd chosen right. The locks were new, my physical boundaries set. Now came the tougher part, holding emotional boundaries against the family pushback I knew was coming. After the confrontation, life felt uneasy. Mom went silent, her go-to move when crossed. Ethan's texts turned icy, then stopped. Family group chats about dinners and birthdays left me out. It was clear I was sidelined until I gave in. A week after changing my locks, I found a gift basket on my porch, Mom's peace offering. The card read, "These will warm up your house. Family always forgives. Dinner Sunday at 5:30. Love, Mom." Inside were burgundy curtains she'd wanted for my bedroom, ugly kitchen towels, and family photos I'd chosen not to hang. Her message was obvious. She'd forgive me if I let her control my home. That night, I left the basket on my parents' porch with a note. "Thanks, but I've picked my own decor. I'm skipping dinner, still hurt by the privacy breach. I hope you'll understand why this matters to me." 2 days later, my coworker Alyssa mentioned running into Mom at the store. "She's worried," Alyssa said. "She thinks you're acting strange, isolating yourself. Asked if you've been off at work." Mom was now pulling my colleagues into her narrative, framing me as unstable to undermine my choices. It was a trick she'd used in college when I first tried to break free. By June, the manipulation tactics grew. Aunt Patricia called, hinting Mom's doctor visit for concerning symptoms was my fault. Cousin Emily suggested family therapy to fix this tough time, assuming I was the problem. Her idea wasn't bad, but it felt like another way to point the finger at me. I took steps to guard my space. I got a security company to install cameras at my doors, added motion lights, and set up a video doorbell. It felt like overkill, like something from a suspense movie, but the calm it brought was worth every cent. Thanksgiving loomed, and the pressure ramped up. Holidays were non-negotiable in our family: show up or be sick or out of state. Dad, silent for months, called. "Mom set a place for you," he said, voice stern. "Dinner's at 3. Vanessa's bringing her sweet potato casserole." The expectation I'd just show up, ignoring months of conflict, almost made me laugh. "I'm not coming, Dad," I said calmly. "I have plans." I'd spend the day at home and join my friend Sophia for dinner, but I didn't know him details. "This has gone on long enough, Freya," he said, using the tone that silenced me as a kid. "You've made your point. Mom feels bad about the misunderstanding." Misunderstanding. I cut in, refusing to let it slide. There was no misunderstanding. Mom copied my key and entered my home without permission. "That's a violation, Dad." "She's your mother," he said, as if that excused everything. "She is, and I love her, but I can't keep going when my independence isn't respected." The silence carried years of unspoken family tension. Then Dad sighed. "I don't know you anymore, Freya. The daughter we raised wouldn't turn her back on family." His words hurt, but I saw the truth. They didn't know me because I wasn't the daughter who always gave in. "I'm not turning away," I said. "I'm asking for respect. When you and Mom can talk without dismissing me, I'll be here." Christmas brought new pressure. A pile of wrapped gifts appeared on my porch with cards full of emotional pleas. "Christmas isn't the same without you," Mom wrote. "Don't punish us for one mistake." Calling it one mistake shrank months of violations into something small. It was manipulation dressed in holiday wrapping, tied with guilt. I left the gifts unopened in my spare room, unable to accept or return them without feeling trapped. They sat there, heavy with the emotional weight of standing my ground. Through it all, I needed help to stay strong against the family pressure. A coworker suggested Dr. Harriet Knox, a therapist who knew family dynamics. In her cozy office with blue walls and thriving plants, I started unraveling decades of family patterns. "This is normal when you set boundaries with people who aren't used to them," Dr. Knox said. "The guilt, the people sent to sway you, the health scares, the downplaying of what happened, it's all to pull you back into their control." "Am I overreacting?" I asked Dr. Knox. "Did I really need to change the locks?" She leaned in. "Freya, if a friend said someone copied their key and entered their home without permission, what would you tell them?" The answer was clear. "Change the locks." "Exactly," she said. "Your mom doing it doesn't make it less serious. It's a bigger betrayal because it breaks the trust a parent and child should share." Therapy became my anchor as I dealt with being the family outcast. Dr. Knox showed me my pain was real, my need for privacy was normal, and the struggle of setting boundaries was worth the lasting freedom. Outside therapy, I built a new circle. Sophia, my realtor, became a true friend, always ready with advice or a listening ear. My coworker Damon welcomed me to his weekly game nights, offering fun without family drama. My neighbor Grace, a blunt retired teacher, helped me tend my garden and shared her wisdom. These bonds, chosen freely, felt different. People valued me for me, not for fitting their mold. The toughest part was grieving the family I wished I had. Some nights, I cried myself to sleep, longing for a mom who'd celebrate my success, not control it. I missed a dad who'd defend my independence, a brother who'd get my side. But through the tears and doubt, one truth held strong. This house was mine. Its walls reflected my style, my choices, myself, a self worth protecting, no matter the cost. 6 months after changing the locks, on a chilly October day, Ethan knocked on my door. Alone, hands in his pockets, he looked uneasy. "Can we talk?" he asked, shifting his weight. I paused, checking for signs he was sent to pull me back. Seeing none, I let him in. Ethan stood in my living room, eyeing the bookshelf I built, the art I picked, the furniture arranged my way. "This place looks good," he said. "Not what I expected, but good." "Thanks," I said, still cautious. "Want a drink?" He took water, and we sat across the sofa, the space between us more than physical. "I owe you an apology," Ethan said after a quiet moment, staring at his glass. "I didn't get your boundary thing before. I do now, and I'm sorry it took so long."
His words stunned me.
"What changed?" I asked. He sighed, setting his glass down. "Vanessa and I hit a rough patch. Nothing major," he added, seeing my face. "But it made us see patterns in our marriage." He paused, collecting himself. "Last month, Vanessa noticed her journal and work papers were moved in our bedroom. We thought maybe we forgot, or the cleaners shifted them." A chill hit me, sensing where this was going. Then Vanessa caught Mom saying things she couldn't know unless, he looked at me, unless she read Vanessa's journal, like she did yours. His words validated my experience, proving Mom's invasions weren't just my issue. I'd been told my need for privacy was the problem, but here was proof it wasn't. When Vanessa confronted her, Ethan went on. Mom used the same excuses. She was worried, needed to know about her daughter-in-law's life, said family doesn't hide things. I nodded, knowing those lines too well. Vanessa was livid. She told me to change the locks or she'd stay with her sister. He ran a hand through his hair, exhausted. That's when I realized, if I'd protect Vanessa's privacy, why did I judge you for protecting yours? His words hit deep, exposing the unfairness I'd faced. "Because I was raised to accept Mom's behavior as love," I said quietly. Ethan nodded. "And I was raised to think you overreacted when you fought it. I'm sorry, Freya. I should have been better." We talked for hours, truly connecting for the first time. Ethan shared the pressures of being the favored child. I opened up about the pain and clarity of these months alone. We dug into the family patterns shaping us. "I'm not cutting Mom and Dad out," Ethan said as we wrapped up. "I'm not pushing you to make up either. I just want you to know I get it, and I support your boundaries, even if they're not mine." His unexpected support felt like a new start, not a full fix, but a step toward respect, not obligation. 2 weeks later, I agreed to meet Mom and Dad at a downtown coffee shop with a mediator, Isla, who handled family conflicts. They weren't thrilled about an outsider, but their agreement to my terms felt like a small win. "Thanks for coming," Isla said as we settled with our drinks. "Freya shared why there's distance in your relationship. Today, we can listen and find a way forward." Mom gripped her latte tightly, like it could shield her from the talk. Dad looked uneasy but steady, his eyes flicking between me and Isla. "Freya, what do you hope to gain today?" Isla asked. I'd practiced with Dr. Knox, choosing words that were firm but kind. "I love you both," I said, looking them in the eyes. "I miss you in my life. But we need to agree that entering my home without permission was wrong." And I need promises to respect my boundaries moving forward. Mom tensed, but Dad surprised me, touching her hand. Let's listen, Janet, he said softly, then turned to me. Go on, Freya. His encouragement, without her usual interruptions, threw me off. I steadied myself and listed my needs. No unannounced visits, no sharing my personal details, and respect for my choices, even if they disagreed. Silence followed. Mom's eyes shimmered, her lips tight with anger or held back tears. Janet, William, want to respond? Isla asked gently. Mom's voice was strained. I didn't mean to hurt you, Freya. Everything I do is out of love and worry for you. I braced for her usual defense, but something new happened. Janet, Dad said, his tone firmer than I'd ever heard with her. Freya needs you to own the impact, not explain your intentions. Mom looked shocked, their eyes locked in a silent exchange. Then she sighed deeply. You're right, she said. First to Dad, then me. Freya, I was wrong to enter your home and copy your key. I shouldn't have, no matter why. Her admission, free of excuses, stunned me. A knot of resentment in my chest started to unravel, one I'd carried so long, I barely noticed it. Thank you, I said quietly. That means everything. The rest of the meeting wasn't smooth. Mom got defensive at times. Dad tried to gloss over issues. But Isla kept us on track, and we made some early agreements on how to move forward. After 2 hours, we had a plan to rebuild trust. Mom agreed to text before visiting and wait for my okay. Dad promised to respect my choices without pushing. I committed to regular calls and some shared meals, while being clear about my limits. It was a start, messy but real. As we left, Dad did something rare, since I was a kid. He gave me a real hug, not a quick pat. I'm proud of you, he whispered, for standing up, for your beautiful home, for being so strong. His words, longed for but unexpected, brought tears. Not everything was fixed, but a closed door cracked open, letting in hope. Rebuilding trust was slow, with hiccups. Mom joined me for 3 sessions with Dr. Knox before saying she didn't need it. But those talks gave us words to handle tough moments. Dad, surprisingly, kept meeting with us sometimes, eager to understand our family's patterns. 2 months later, I invited them to dinner at my house with rules. Arrive at 6, leave by 9. No talk of redecorating unless I asked. They followed every rule, appreciating my home as it was, not how they'd change it. As winter became spring, a new normal took shape. My bond with Ethan grew, rooted in respect, not duty. Vanessa and I found a friendship outside family ties, connecting over shared interests, not just tolerating each other. A year after the lock incident, I hosted Dad's birthday dinner at my house. It had set times, clear invitations, and real joy, no control or resentment lurking underneath. As Mom left that night, she paused in my entryway, looking around. You know, she said, I wouldn't have picked that living room color, but it fits you perfectly now. From her, admitting my choices were valid was huge, a step towards seeing me as my own person. Thanks, Mom, I said, heartfelt. That means a lot. A year after changing my locks, I sat in my garden on a warm spring evening, looking back on the past 12 months. The patio, where Mom once planned unasked for barbecues, was now my spot for morning coffee and quiet evenings. I'd planted lavender and rosemary, their scents drifting in the breeze. Healing wasn't easy or linear. Mom sometimes forgot to call before dropping by, and I'd slip into silence instead of speaking up. But beneath those stumbles, we'd built a new respect in our relationship. Setting boundaries didn't break our family, as I'd feared. It made things better. Clear rules eased the tension and resentment that used to haunt our gatherings. I stopped bracing for privacy invasions at every event. Mom began to see my independence wasn't about rejecting her, easing her need to control my life. It wasn't smooth for Mom. On Dr. Knox's advice, she started therapy but kept it private. Whatever she worked on helped. She started asking instead of assuming, listening instead of fixing, and noticing when her help wasn't wanted. Sitting in my garden on a crisp spring evening, I felt the weight of the past year lift like morning mist. The small patio, once the stage for my mother's uninvited plans for family barbecues, had become my sanctuary. I sipped coffee there at dawn, watching the sunrise paint the sky in soft pinks, and lingered in the evenings, surrounded by the lavender and rosemary I'd planted. Their gentle scents filled the air, grounding me. The journey to this peace wasn't smooth. There were stumbles, like Mom forgetting to call before visiting or me retreating into silence instead of speaking up. But beneath those missteps, a new foundation of respect had taken root, something my family and I had never shared before. The fear that setting boundaries would shatter my family proved wrong. Instead, it healed us. Clear rules replaced the unspoken tensions that once defined our gatherings. I no longer walked into family dinners braced for an invasion of my privacy. Mom, slowly but surely, began to see my independence as strength, not rejection. She didn't need to hover over my every move anymore, and that shift felt like a small miracle. Mom's change wasn't instant. On Dr. Knox's advice, she started seeing her own therapist, though she kept those sessions private. I didn't need details to see the impact. Over time, she stopped assuming she knew what was best for me. She'd ask before offering advice, listen instead of jumping to fix things, and even catch herself when her help crossed a line. One day, she called to ask if I wanted her input on a garden trellis I'd mentioned. Only if you want it, she added quickly. That pause, that choice to wait for my answer, was new, and it meant everything. Dad's transformation caught me off guard most. For years, he'd been the quiet peacemaker, smoothing over Mom's control with a shrug or a gentle word. But once I stopped expecting him to mediate, he found his own voice. Our talks, once filtered through Mom's presence, became direct and real. One Sunday, we spent hours at a local history museum, geeking out over old blueprints of colonial homes like mine. "You've got an eye for this stuff," he said, pointing to a sketch of a gabled roof. "Your house has that same character." I realized we'd never connected like this as a kid, his interests buried under family dynamics. Now, we were uncovering them together, building a bond that felt like a gift. Ethan's change was the deepest. Growing up, we were cast as opposites, him the golden child, me the scapegoat. Those roles, forced on us by family patterns, kept us distant. But after his apology, we started over. We became just Freya and Ethan, siblings who could argue over politics one minute and cheer each other on the next. One evening, he showed up with pizza and a board game, no agenda, just wanting to hang out. "I miss this," he said, laughing as I beat him at Scrabble. "You always were a word nerd." That night, we weren't playing roles. We were just us, building a connection rooted in respect, not family scripts. Vanessa's turnaround was another surprise. Her role in the home invasion had stung, but 6 months later, she reached out for lunch, just us. Over sandwiches. She didn't hesitate. "I owe you an apology, Freya," she said, her eyes steady. "I had no right to enter your house or follow Janet's lead." "I'm sorry." Her words were raw, no excuses attached. "I didn't get it then," she admitted. "In my family, we're always in each other's spaces. But that's no reason to ignore your boundaries." I was wrong. Her honesty disarmed me, and I felt the wall between us crumble. That lunch was a turning point. We found we both loved diving into novels and hitting hiking trails, passions family gatherings never uncovered. One weekend, we trekked through a nearby forest, swapping stories about our favorite books. "I thought you were just Ethan's quiet sister," she laughed, pausing to snap a photo of a waterfall. "Turns out you're kind of a badass." We weren't inseparable, but we'd built something real, a friendship chosen, not forced by family ties. My house, once a source of conflict, became my true haven. It wasn't a bunker to shut out the world, but a space where I could invite people in on my terms. The security cameras stayed, not out of paranoia but practicality, like a seatbelt you don't think about until you need it. I entrusted my spare key to Sophia, my realtor-turned-friend, with a clear rule: emergencies only. What once felt like extreme measures, cameras, new locks, now felt as natural as locking the bathroom door. This was my space, shaped by my choices, From the sage green walls Mom once questioned to the art I hung because it spoke to my heart. The ripple effects of setting boundaries went beyond family. At work, I found my voice. I used to take on every project, even ones that drained me, just to avoid conflict. Now, I said no to tasks that didn't suit my strengths. I'm not the best fit for this, I told my boss, Marcus, when he pitched a data-heavy project. He nodded, respecting my clarity, and passed it to someone else. In friendships, I stopped bending over backward to please others. When a friend pushed for weekend plans I wasn't up for, I'd say, "I need a quiet one this time," and they'd get it. Dating changed too. I used to miss red flags, mistaking possessiveness for affection. Now I spotted control a mile away and walked the other direction. Dr. Knox's words stayed with me. The pain of setting boundaries was temporary, but the freedom was forever. The guilt that gnawed at me during those early months of family silence had faded. In its place grew a quiet confidence that I had the right to shape my relationships. Mom still slipped into old habits sometimes, especially when stressed. Once, during a family party, she suggested rearranging my kitchen for efficiency. I took a breath and said, "I like it as it is, Mom." She paused, nodded, and let it go, a small victory, but one we both felt. We addressed these moments now, not buried them in silence. Those locks I changed in a fury of betrayal became more than a barrier. They stood for my claim over my life, my home, my time, my energy. That act of defiance wasn't just about keeping people out, it was about deciding who I let in and how. It was about owning my story, not letting family expectations write it for me. That spring evening in my garden, as the sky turned to dusk, I thought of the woman I was a year ago. She was terrified of losing her family, yet brave enough to risk it for her own freedom. I wanted to hug her, to tell her the path ahead would be rocky but worth it. She'd find connections deeper than she imagined, because she stood her ground. She'd uncover strengths she didn't know she had, because she dared to demand respect. And the family she feared losing would grow into something healthier, because she was bold enough to change the rules. The keys in my pocket no longer carried the weight of rebellion. They were just keys now, opening a home that was mine in every sense. I could welcome people in when I chose, on my terms, without fear of losing myself. Have you ever had to set tough boundaries with people you love? It's never easy. It can feel like tearing apart the fabric of your relationships. But sometimes, it's the only way to weave something stronger, truer. If my story resonates, please share your own in the comments below. Let me know where you're joining me from, and if this journey speaks to you, hit like, subscribe, and pass it on to someone who might need to hear that boundaries aren't selfish. They're self-respect that lifts everyone around you. Thanks for listening to my story. It's not just about a house or a set of locks. It's about breaking free from patterns that no longer fit. The locks we change aren't always on doors. Sometimes, they're on the habits and expectations that keep us stuck. By changing mine, I found a home, a family, and a self I could truly call my own. The transformation in my relationship with Dad unfolded slowly, like a flower opening to the sun. Growing up, he'd always been the quiet one, nodding along as Mom steered the family ship. His silence wasn't neglect. It was his way of keeping peace, of avoiding the storms Mom's intensity could stir. But when I stopped looking to him to fix things, something shifted. He started showing up as himself, not just as Mom's buffer. One Saturday, he called out of the blue. "Saw an article about restoring old homes," he said, his voice warm. "Thought of your place. Want to grab coffee and talk about it?" I hesitated, half expecting Mom to be behind it. But it was just him, and we met at a cozy cafe downtown. Over steaming mugs, we dove into the history of colonial architecture, swapping ideas about preserving my home's original charm. "That bay window of yours," he said, sketching it on a napkin. "It's got stories in every pane." I laughed, surprised by how much I enjoyed his company. We started meeting monthly, sometimes at museums, sometimes just walking through old neighborhoods, pointing out gables and cornices. These moments weren't just about buildings. They were about building a relationship we'd never had. Ethan's shift was even more profound. As kids, we were pitted against each other by unspoken family rules. He was the golden child, praised for every step, while I was the sensitive one, always needing guidance. Those labels kept us apart, but his apology cracked them open. After our talk, we started small, texting about silly things like a new coffee shop or a funny movie. One night, he showed up with a pizza box and a battered Monopoly board. Thought we could relive the old days, he grinned. But no cheating this time. We laughed, argued over fake money, and talked about life, his pressures as the perfect son, my struggle to carve out space. It wasn't perfect, but it was honest. We were siblings now, not roles. Vanessa's apology opened a door I hadn't expected. That lunch where she owned her mistake felt like a clean slate. We met again a few weeks later, this time for a hike in the hills outside town. As we climbed, we traded book recommendations, me raving about a sci-fi novel, her gushing over a historical drama. "I had no idea you were into this stuff," she said, pausing to catch her breath. Family dinners never gave us a chance to find out. She was right. Those tense gatherings, heavy with Mom's expectations, left no room for real connection. Now we were building one, step by step, trail by trail. We didn't need to be soulmates, just two women who respected each other's space. My house became more than a building. It was a reflection of me. The sage green walls, the bookshelves I arranged by color, the quirky art prints I'd collected, they weren't just decor. They were choices, declarations of who I was. The security cameras, once a desperate measure, blended into the background, like a smoke detector you forget until it's needed. Giving Sophia my spare key felt like trust, not surrender. She understood it was for emergencies, no questions asked. My home was a place where I could be fully myself, inviting others in when I was ready, not because I had to. Work changed too. I used to say yes to everything, afraid of seeming uncooperative. But boundaries gave me clarity. When Marcus asked me to lead a project that didn't suit me, I said, "I think Alyssa's skills align better here." He respected it, and I felt lighter, focusing on work I loved. With friends, I stopped overextending myself. If I needed a night in, I'd say so, and true friends got it. Dating was the biggest shift. I'd fallen for controlling types before, mistaking their intensity for care. Now I saw through it. When a guy pushed too hard for my time, I'd say, "I need space to move at my own pace." The right ones stayed, the wrong ones didn't. Dr. Knox's wisdom carried me through. She'd said the pain of boundaries was fleeting, but the freedom lasted. She was right. The guilt that once kept me up at night, wondering if I'd been too harsh, faded into confidence. I had a right to my space, my choices, my life. Mom still slipped sometimes, like when she offered to organize my closet during a visit. "I've got it handled," I said firmly, and she backed off, a small but real win. We talked through these moments now, not letting them fester. Those locks, changed in a moment of righteous anger, became a symbol of my power. They weren't just about keeping my family out, they were about claiming my right to decide who entered my world. They marked the moment I took control, not just of my home, but of my story. Every time I turned the key, I felt the weight of that choice, to live on my terms, to build relationships that honored me. That evening, as the garden glowed under the fading light, I thought of the woman I was a year ago. She was scared, clutching her independence like a fragile treasure, afraid her family would reject her for it. I wanted to tell her she was braver than she knew. The road would be hard, tears, fights, lonely nights, but it would lead to something beautiful. She'd find relationships rooted in respect, not obligation. She'd discover a strength that came from standing firm. And the family she loved, but feared losing, would grow into something better because she dared to demand change. The keys in my pocket were just keys now, opening a home that was mine in every way. I could invite people in or not without losing myself. If you've ever had to set hard boundaries with people you love, you know it feels like walking through fire. But it's worth it. Those lines don't push people away. They make room for real connection. If my story strikes a chord, share yours in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from, and if this journey means something to you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear that boundaries are an act of love for yourself and others. Thank you for joining me on this path. It's not just about a house or locks, it's about breaking free from patterns that no longer fit. The locks we change aren't always metal. Sometimes they're the habits, fears, and expectations that keep us locked in. By changing mine, I found a home, a family, and a self I could call my own.